Okay. Just give me a second. I'm just deleting some. So let's pick up our writing. So if you see, we are in Hello World, right? Hello World class. So Git status. Okay, Git log. So what is log? So anybody can anybody tell me why you use Git log? Okay, so Git log is basically used to actually list all your commits that happens on the repo. So Git log will contain all the commits. So all the commits are nothing but all the state change information. So that is effectively like you're tracking everything that happens in your particular repository. So your current repository, we actually made 3 state changes. That means we actually the initial commit is when we actually initiate the new repository. The secondary commit is when we actually added a new file. The third one is when we actually added all the files like test 1 2 3 4 4 whatsoever. So this is basically commit and commit history. So if you look into it, we are actually worked with the git config, which is basically used to configure your or the committer, or let's say the user information, which is effectively is nothing but git config -user dot name, git config -user dot email, with respect to name and email address in quotes. And the second command we actually looked is git init. The git init is basically initiates a git repository on the folder that actually you think is the main repository that should become. So this is only limited to your local directory. Only when you actually set a remote for the git init repository, then it will actually get have the remote git server. Otherwise it will be local to your system only. Now we have the third one, which is a Git clone. So can anybody tell me what is basically Git clone? Why do we need to use Git clone? I will give a virtual cookie if anybody can respond. I know that it's really hard for all the grown-ups to answer like this, but it really helps you even to remember some concepts very fast, and also give me a bit of encouragement. So here is a virtual cookie. Who wants it can actually answer Git clone. Okay, so Git clone is basically used to clone a repository, okay, on your local laptop. So a repository, all the Git repositories are nothing but a Git repository basically means you have a remote repository, and currently we have different services like Docker Hub, okay, Bitbucket, okay, GitLab, oopsie, this is my company. This is interesting option actually. And there are several more if you keep on going. What they offer is that they actually maintain a single or a distributed cluster of servers per Git, which actually is what you use as a remote server. So when you sign up, try, or when you sign up, or register, you will actually get a access to that particular running instance. Okay, so same goes with not Docker Hub. Did I actually Docker Hub? GitHub, right? And the same goes with Bitbucket. When you get started, okay, then you will have a server run. So that's what we actually mean cloning. So you clone whole repository information required, and while cloning, the Git will actually take care of the remote setting up the remotes and the locations and access methods and commit methods. So it's more easy for you to handle in such a fashion. Otherwise, instead of initiating a Git empty repository from your end and then adding remotes and complicating stuff, this is more better. So please try to understand the utility of Git clone. It's very important. Okay, so you want to go to some kind of a sample Git clone, you can try this particular repo. It's open source, so it has all the algorithmic interview questions for Git. It has all the required information. Okay, but this is for just a sample. Now, how do you clone? I already explained. How do you actually visit information of your current Git repository? By using Git status. Okay, so I'm just asking simple question. Is adding a file to your Git repository, I just used a command called touch and the file name is new file to a current Git existing Git repository. Now, is that file by default is trackable or not? Who can answer this? The simple yes or no question. Come on, guys. Do you understand what I just asked? At least can you confirm that? Raghu, Kishore, sorry, Raghu, Amaya, Richa, Rohit, Meher. Okay, so basically, Git status actually shows, it doesn't really show the untracked files. So you have to use Git status to actually see the untracked files and add them. So that's what we did initially when we checked the Git repo. Now, how do we add files to your Git repo? By using a command called git add. Okay, if it is a recursive, then you have to keep -r. Otherwise, just name of the file, or if it is a folder, then you have to use recursive. Okay. Git commit is basically way of committing your state changes to your repository. Okay, when you actually do git commit, it actually creates, okay, a particular verification, token. So that's all about git commit. And git push or git pull. Git push is something that you one actually pulls a state change information to the remote repository node. And git pull always takes the latest repository that is committed into the remote repository. So it actually takes the let's say latest code that exists in there, which is committed. Okay. Well, now we have something called Git Branch. Okay. From here until now, what you are seeing are basic stuff. From here, what we're going to discuss is going to be a bit advanced, of which we have to know a Git state or Git branch. So first of all, you might have heard this somewhere. Okay. Branching. Why do we need to branch? So this particular training document is really useful when you actually have a bit of interview oriented questions. So the first and foremost question, which most of interviews or common generic interview questions would be, why do you need to branch? To understand how much you know Git, okay, and what is its real use case. Okay, so any development process, if you see any there is no process here, but I will just use. So if you see any development process, basically have several different stages. So if you take, not this one, there is Azure. Okay, if you just see the software development lifecycle, okay, the first and foremost is what you actually need to do. So I think this is kind of agile, but very larger phase. It's not going to be a good example. So if you see this particular diagram got Agile development, okay, the first and foremost stage is brainstorming. That means the user and the not delivery manager, okay, technical architect, they're gonna discuss the business requirement and they're gonna gone through the whole understanding of the business idea and how it's gonna work. The second one is a design phase. So only when you actually define, then only you can design. So here the definition of the cars, okay, and the important requirements which are actually converted into the workable components, those will be converted in the form of a design. So example, I want a car with a very less let's say resistance from air. Okay, so when I drive a car with more than 100 kilometers per hour or so, the wind resistance is something that can also need to be lowered. So if I just say that brainstorming, and when I actually brainstorming, I just put words on something like I need to have a car which can actually have a very wind dynamics. Now in the step 2, I'm gonna create this the whole structure of this wind requirement. The third step in the development, based on the design, by using the design, the developers will start developing the application. Well, when the development is done, then it will move to quality assistance. Once the quality check is completely done, then it will move to deployment. Okay, so this is basic ideal scenario that actually happens across almost all agile services. Okay, so I hope this is clear, right, guys? How many people couldn't understand? You can ask a question, or you can actually ask me anything in this respect to agile development methodology. Okay, now since you already understand agile method, now it's a time for you to interlink both Git and the development methodology. So any software application, as we discussed, is very hard to develop by a single person, and it is basically a team effort. So every team, so even this development has different phases in the life cycle. The first and foremost is the requirement phase. The second is the design, and the third is development, and fourth is testing. And if you have some kind of issues with the development, then you go back and you're gonna again recheck the whole code, and you're gonna improve it. So in short, what it actually happens is that you have the flow. So the developers develop the code, but where they should basically put it? They basically need to put it in the remote repository. So the remote repository, okay. So when they put in the remote repository, it would be really so one repository would be enough having these many flows. No, it is not really not enough. So how many flows we basically have in the previous diagram? If you see, we have a brainstorming session, and we have a design, development, quality assurance or testing, and deployment. So instead of brainstorming, which is basically a requirement set by your customer, that means the guy who wants to create this software, he has a requirement, business requirement. Okay, so the business requirement, okay, they have to be translated into technical requirements. Once the technical requirements are actually starts, then the design can be implemented. On the designing phase, it's mostly related to architecture, okay, but nothing related to code base. So once the architecture artifacts are developed, they can be stored in a very secured classes. So once the artifacts are done and the design is developed, then you have to you are actually going to development phase. In the development phase, what is actually going on is that all the developers gonna sit together, or they're gonna sit in a in a remote place like me, who actually collaborate with each other and try to develop or fix, okay, the particular software based on the software requirement. Okay, so once the development, so when you say that development and the QA, then you obviously see that all because some people are testing the code, no developer will actually stay empty-handed, right, in a company, because a company actually need to pay you money. So it also literally means that you have to work. If there is no work, then that is the time we have to be really scared. But for now, if there is a particular development in progress, okay, and also testing in progress, can we actually run both the code bases in a single repository bucket? Can anybody answer this question, please? So you have only one particular repository, that is master repository, and you have two different types of users. One who actually testing the previous code, and the second is somebody who wants to commit the code. How this should be handled? Can somebody please respond? Okay, for this you actually need two repositories. Okay, two repositories means you can't really have the same code in two repositories, but instead you can have branches, just like a tree which has the same code base, but it has different branches. So that is what Git actually means here. So this is the main master branch. So which is actually really means that the master branch contains really tested code. Okay, now we have one more branch which is created after this commit. Okay, which we call little feature. Okay, and after certain commits, if this particular core repository is committed with the changes that is involved here, and then you are committed, and we move to the next commit segment. In this commit segment, if we are actually testing QA, then we need one more branch, and this branch is can be called as big feature or QA. Okay, so you have QA, you have dev, then what is master? So once you pass this QA, only then you are allowed to merge your code to master. Okay, so you have to go to the compliance checks, you have to go through a lot before you actually merge your current code to your production environment. Is that clear, guys? It seems not.
Yes.
Somebody giving a response would be great. Guys, can you hear me? At least
Yes,
confirm
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Amit. So I hope that is clear with respect to Git. Okay. So yeah. So basically, this is what it meant by branches. Now, in the branches, how many branches you have? The ideal way of having branch is the minimalistic form, because the lesser number of branches, higher the maintenance is actually valid. So if I have so many branches, then it will be really bad maintained. So if I have a less number of branches, then it would be really a good setup. Sorry, uh, uh, if you actually have a few branches, then it's really a good repository. Okay, with a good Git branching strategy. So here the Git branching strategy in this previous document, or in this document, is basically having three branches. One is master, one is developer or little feature, and the another is big feature. So all these three branches has to be maintained in Git. So let's create branches now. So until now, we actually looked into only Git specific commands. Now we're gonna work on branching strategy. Okay, Git branches. So when I say Git branch hyphen A, it means it will show all the branches that exist on my repository. If you see, currently I have only one branch, and there are that's it, nothing else, because the remote is actually linking to or pointed to again master. So there are no branches. So how do you create a branch? Git branch dev, git branch QA. Okay, git status, git git branch hyphen a. If you see, then we have two more branches created. One is dev and one is QA. So that's the way you create a branch. Git branch and branch name. Is that clear? Now, there's something on Git checkout. Okay, so what is meant by checkout? So it's a simple thing. You have different branches, but what do you mean by moving from one branch to other branch? It's called checkout. So git checkout QA, and then if you check ls, it's gonna again contain the all the 4 files. Okay, so if you actually git checkout, okay, git checkout dev, it means that it simply switches the branch from QA to dev. Okay, good. Now I'm actually doing something. I'm in the middle of my work, and suddenly there is a production downtime, and I have to go back to a previous code base where I actually think that I did a mistake while delivering. So, how do you actually make sure that your changes are not deleted? So we have something called git stash. So when you say git stash, then type enter. It's gonna say, hey, there are no local changes to save. Okay, so I'm adding add blah one. Sorry, touch blah one. Okay, so since this new particular file is added, if you check the status, okay. So for that to commit, and then okay, so how do you commit? Git commit -m. What is the branch you are on? You are on dev branch. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't check out or what? Okay. Yeah. Now I have created this new branch, right? I say git push origin dev. Now it's asking me password. Okay. So the remote upload is done. Now let's go to our Git. Why it is going down? Ah, okay, not a problem. So if you see, if you click on branch, here you can see there is another branch called dev, and there is master. And if you see, if you want to see all the branches, click here, but you can see only dev and master. Okay. Then what happened with the other branch that we just created, the QA? Because I didn't change anything and I didn't committed that, so I can have to check out QA Git Commit -m just to show demo. Okay, so git push origin here. Same again. Okay, some problem. Come on. Yeah. If I just refresh, we have even the third branch, which is QA. So there won't be any difference between QA and master, but there will be a bit of difference between them. But do understand that this is quickly get changed once you work on any real-time project. Now, so I just told you, right? Git stash. How do you do that? Simple. I'm in QA. I touch new file. Now, if I check git status, so what I need to do here, okay, is to just use a command called git stash. Type enter. Oh, okay, because it's non-tracked, so you just need to add git add. So now, if you just see, okay, now if you say git stash is now git log. Check. Okay, but you see, there is origin QA as a master origin header master, but you don't see any kind of addition that I just made with the new file. Okay, so the stash is like a quickly saving your current work and then moving on and then again reverting back. Okay, now git merge. What do you mean by a merge? So this is really important. What do you mean by a merge? A merge really means copying the code from one particular branch to the branch. Okay, so basically it has the main utility you would be working are basically the branches. So branches really required to merge the code from one branch to another branch. So instead of copying, merging is really safer. So git revert. How do you actually revert to a particular commit? Sorry, I'm actually confused with control and command. Okay, I saved and I exit. Okay, when actually reverted, then I can check git status. You have only 3 files. Where is the file that I just created? So because when in that timestamp there are only these 3 files. That is what basically it means. Okay. So we are good. So we have one more git remote. So we already know how do you know the remotes by using a command called git remote. Okay. And then that's it. You can add a git remote by using the add command, but you don't really need to do now. So git tag is basically tagging the particular message. So this is really helpful when you're actually burning the some kind of releases on periodic basis. Okay, you can use Git tags. So, but this is all about Git. Let me know, guys, if you have any doubts or if you encounter something weird. Any questions?
Hello?
Disconnection. Yes.
Yeah,
Aren't
Abdul.
you? Yeah. Aren't you able to hear me now? Till now?
Sorry?
Were you able to hear me till now?
Yeah. So I just wanted to
Okay.
ask,
So ask.
what's the difference between Git and GitHub?
GitHub is, as I told you, it's a product sold by GitHub. So GitHub is popular because of its open source approach.
Okay.
But underlying GitHub, you not only just use Git, you will also use a word. Let's say you will use a web server, you will use a file server. So there is a lot more that GitHub actually came up with as a
Okay.
additional pay-per-go service.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, guys? Okay, since there are no questions, then that's all for the session. Our Git is complete. Okay. So by the way, I just wanted to show you how do you initiate a merge. Okay. But for that, I think how should I mean there. Okay. Now, if you want to make a merge, you have to go to GitHub and you have to create a pull request. So what you call pull request is nothing but you're merging the code from one branch to other branch. The process in technical term is called as pull request. When you are pulling request, you have to put down your viewpoints. Okay, unless there are some kind of issues, it's gonna create a pull request. So now, who is the so normally this activity is basically done by two people. One who initiates the pull request, and the other person who does the pull request. Okay, so since I'm the admin for my particular container, I'm doing it myself. So merge the pull request and confirm the change. Now that's it. This is successfully merged. Okay, so that's all. Any questions, guys? Okay, great. If you have nothing, then I wish you best of luck and let's catch up tomorrow. Bye bye.